9 a.m. May 17th, 2022. I'll call our McLeod County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, good morning, everyone. We'll start out with employee recognition. Hannah?
Oh, thank you. Never mind.
Great. Now, would you mind joining us? We're really excited this morning. Commissioner, Board Chair, we're recognizing Lynette Schreck this morning as she is retiring after 37 years with McLeod County and her position as the county recorder. I think that deserves a round of applause. I'm going to have Lynette stand up here. You can pop it over, but it's a little much to be up here alone. We're going to give an opportunity for some maybe words of thanks. Lynette, if you have any words. We have your family here today, we have your team here today, and we're just really grateful for your service, dedication, and leadership in your time here. So I'll look to the board and Sheila for some words.
Well, Lynette, I'm short timer compared to you, so there's not much other than congratulations, and I envy you actually. So, but I just as soon hear from you if some of your experiences in your 37 years, if there's something that really sticks out.
I don't know if there's really anything that really sticks out, but it's just been a good 37 years. I've seen a lot of things happen over the years. I've seen a lot of progression with McLeod County, and I was so glad to be a part of that. We have a little speech here. I'm thankful to the voters of McLeod County for electing me to 5 terms. I'm glad they had confidence in me for all those years. And I want to thank commissioners and employees that I've worked with all throughout the years. There's been many of them, and I've made a lot of friendships. And then I want to thank my staff. They've been rock stars for me, and they made me look good, but it was really all them, and I thank you for that. I'm leaving the office in good hands, and we're like family in our office, so I'm really going to miss you guys. Turning to a new chapter in my life, spending more time with friends and family, and you can see my family over there, and especially the youngest one, and there's another one that's at daycare, so I'll be spending more time with them. So I thank you, and thanks for all the memories for everyone. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations and thank you.
We're going to take a moment to, unless there's anything else anyone wants to share. Say.
Go ahead. I don't want to make you cry. We are celebrating you on June 1st, as you know, though. We're not doing it today like we used to do. And we're not doing it on a Friday because we don't expect her to stay on her last day. I will take a second, though. We wrote your retirement article together for the media release. And seeing the number of positions that you held over the years is inspiring for all of our team here, and you know that, and thank you for all that you do. I will miss you. You've helped me out since I came here in 2017 and our team. And we are excited for your retirement. Thank you very much for all of the service to the county.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember, Lynette, actually, it doesn't seem like 37 years, but when you were running, and I remember you had your little booth at the fairgrounds, and when you were starting, trying to meet as many people as you can, doesn't seem like 37 years ago, but.
My kids helped me with that. They were, I think, in grade school, high school, and I had stickers, and they said, elect Lynette Schrupp for recorder, and there happened to be a family in Hutchinson with the last name of Schrupp, and they were in high school, and so they would be asking for stickers all the time, and then my kids went out and started putting stickers all over, and then I remember my kids coming back, and there's Schrupp stickers everywhere. So help
Must
me.
have worked, yep.
Thank you to that family. I was January 2003, I started recorder as elected recorder. So 20 years as recorder. So.
Well, you've helped me several times going through the archives. I hope you taught your staff where to find some of them old papers, because it's helped me several times.
Yep,
So.
they all know that, so I'm leaving you guys in good hands.
We're going to get a quick photo with Lynette and the board. Maybe we'll have I guess the board can stand where they are, and then Lynette, would you mind just standing here in the front? Great. This looks good. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. And I think we're going to have a photo of you out in the hallway, if that's okay too. Thank you so much. And if we could maybe give one more round of applause to Lynette.
Consideration of agenda items. Any corrections or additions?
I have an addition, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Asking to add item F under administration. The McLeod County Emergency Management Director has requested a state of emergency declaration in a resolution, which we would number 22-CB-26. Item F under administration.
What was the number again, please?
22-CB-26.
Any other additions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion made by Commissioner Luthens and seconded by Commissioner Wright to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schmaltz. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Employee relations, Hannah, you're back up.
Thank you. Just one item today. Item A, consider approving a request to hire a temporary building service maintenance engineer while the permanent full-time maintenance engineer is on leave. This temporary position will be hired in June through October of 2022.
Questions for Hannah? Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. City of Glencoe, Mark. John. Morning, John.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here on behalf of the City of Glencoe to request that McLeod County participate in tax abatement for a hotel project within the City of Glencoe with a total abatement of $500,000. So I provided a little bit of background information packet that you have before you. The City of Glencoe has been without a hotel since early 2021 after the Super 8 was purchased by Seneca Foods for workforce housing. The last hotel was that same hotel built in the mid-1980s, so we're currently without one. We did have an update to our hotel study completed in 2021 that showed a significant need for a hotel in Glencoe. And then a few communities along Highway 212 have also completed hotel studies, and we've met with 4 different developers and hotel brands that have said that kind of whichever city gets that hotel first, the other ones likely won't get one just because the market would be too concentrated. So the hotel that we're looking at is an American, $6.9 million. They're estimating the cost of the hotel. The developer is Equay Development out of Wisconsin. The developer and the contractor would both be investors in this project. And the contractor plans to utilize as much local labor as possible, along with subcontractors. The majority of the current investors are local. And what we've heard from developers is that when you have that local investment group, that really helps the hotel because there's pride in the hotel. There's members of the community that are all invested, and they look to kind of support that hotel. The abatement is necessary for the hotel project to secure financing and to create a high enough return on investment for the investors. So right now the proposed timeline is to close on the loan and start the project this month and next month. They would be starting groundbreaking in August and constructing the hotel from August to April of next year, with hopefully the hotel opening in April of 2023. You have a little map that shows the proposed location of the hotel, which is along Morningside and south of Highway 212. We're currently going through the currently approved annexation with Helen Township for 0.7 acres of that land. 1.3 is currently within the city limits. As far as an abatement goes, we've got a couple different projections for city abatement only and how long that would take, estimating like 13 years for the $500,000 total. If the county were to participate, it'd be slightly under 8 years for to reach the $500,000 total abatement. Investors are making up 30% of the equity of the hotel, just over $2 million, and they plan to apply for a USDA loan for the remainder of the 4.8. The hotel would employ one full-time position with likely 8 to 12 part-time positions. As far as an impact on the city, obviously new commercial property taxes, along with lodging tax revenue. The city currently has a 3% lodging tax that they collect. Right now we're collecting on an inn in town and then also the campground. So with the projected revenue of the hotel, we're looking at $40,000 a year starting, and then obviously that would increase as room rates increase. It's kind of what we're looking at. The EDC, the Chamber EDC committee did recommend that the city approve the abatement with the request that the city also approach McLeod County to participate. The city council did approve the $500,000 abatement and then also made the request that we approach the county. We have been in discussions with the school district. I believe they will be discussing it at their June board meeting for possible participation as well. Are there any questions for me?
Questions for John?
Board? You said the council did approve it
The council did approve.
unanimously?
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie, this is something I had to educate myself on. It would have been really awesome if we could have done this more like a workshop or something in the future.
Okay.
I don't think we're ready for it. I really don't. I think the Economic Development Committee is trying to get those benchmarks set, and I think eventually we will be. I agree. I think it's great for Glencoe, and I support it. I just don't know that, and I'll listen to the rest of the board, but I just don't know that we're prepared for that, because we want to make sure that standard is set for future requests also.
Okay.
I just want to be upfront and honest with you.
Okay.
And that's my position on it.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
with what Commissioner Nagel stated, I'm basically have the same thought process that I wish we could have addressed this at a workshop prior to board meeting this morning. As again, the fact of setting precedent and then looking back at some of the TIF districts that we just set up in Lester Prairie last year. I don't believe that involved a county share. So I think we have to look at this a little closer before making a decision. So that's where I'm at today.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll agree with what's already been said. I think I know that our committee is working on it, but we really need a countywide policy format before we jump into this. Otherwise, if we approve one, it becomes some kind of a benchmark for the rest without actually vetting properly through our committees how we want to approach this as a county-wide option. I think the abatement is, the tax abatement is a great recruiting tool, but as far as a county abatement, we're just not to that point yet where we can jump in and be active yet.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, would this be our first one?
We have had one other one that I can recall, and that was the partnership with the city of Stewart to get a road to form a feed on the north side of Stewart, and that was they were going from 100 trucks a day up to about 220 or 30, and to get all the trucks out of town, I think the county participated to the tune of about 180,000.
Okay.
That's the only one that I'm aware of.
I believe it was up to 80,000.
Up to how much?
80. I believe it was
Okay.
up to 8,000 per year for 10 years.
Okay. Was the total amount then the 180 or whatever?
I'm unsure.
Okay.
And part of the reason that we're coming to you, I guess, prior to the workshop is the timeline for getting this this moving. They have an aggressive timeline, and they would like to see construction starting in August. And so I think to get that investment package finalized so that they can go and secure the loan is kind of the rush on it.
Excuse me, I guess everyone else has spoken on. I know about the Stewart one. That was during my term, and it was the infrastructure. I don't actually compare the two. And since that time, we've worked with the economic development. Starting our own. We've spent a lot of time, and we have no policy to do this yet. And quite frankly, I'm really disappointed. I represent Glencoe, and I had to read about it in the newspaper. I had no, there's no question that Glencoe could use a motel, so I'm disappointed in that, so I couldn't do any groundwork to try to lay this to the board faster or earlier, but we don't. I have to echo what everybody else says. We have no policy and can hardly start a precedence with all the work we've done with our economic development committees and stuff. Would be kind of futile if we stepped out of that. So we're kind of stuck. And that's all I really have to say. I don't question the need, but that's all I really have.
Okay.
So I think moving forward, we take the information that you've presented, the model you presented, and we bring that to our Economic Development Committee as one of the options as we brainstorm how to make a countywide policy and what the impact would have been here. But I don't think that the time schedules are going to align on this
Right.
one.
What the board's options are is to table it until a later date, or to turn it down now and consider it later if you wish, or to approve it.
Or do nothing?
You really shouldn't do nothing. They're coming to you with a request, and you ought to reply to their request, or give them a timeline on when you will reply to it. If you're planning on taking it to your development committee and you want it to come back here in a month and a half, I think you ought to give them some idea and give the developers some idea of what your timeline is.
We did. Commissioner Wright was in the field yesterday and didn't make our economic development. We did discuss it a little at economic development, and it's premature for us to do anything. I can't, in my own heart, I can't set a precedence outside of that committee. That's what we spent a lot of time, and we intend on, making that an asset to McLeod County, and to not do that together would be, in my opinion, would be a step backwards. Because I worked hard to get the economic development started along with a couple of other commissioners, and I don't want to dampen that, so.
Understood.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Unfortunately, I would move to deny the request.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for your consideration.
Yep. Environmental Services. Mark. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, everyone. So I have a little bit of a non-traditional request this morning of you. I did get a call from an applicant, and it was specifically in regards to conditional use 21-21. They are a solar applicant, so we did approve a solar garden on Tom Horstman's property at the intersection of Keel Avenue and County Road 5 up by Winsted. And the request was in regards to the screening plan. They are in the process of putting together their construction plans for us to review and approve and submit for their land use permit. And in the conditions, under number E, it says an approved landscape buffer plan and vegetative management plan shall be provided to the McLeod County Environmental Service Office. Included in the plan shall be a row of maintained healthy living 4-foot trees with vegetative shrubbery along the exterior perimeter of the project boundary. This buffer shall be planted and maintained to remain healthy and live. There's a project that's directly to the east of this. It is for Nokomis Energy on the same parcel, so it is conditional use 20-20. The request from the applicant was for myself to not allow for that buffer to be placed between the two projects. So it would be the north-south line between the two projects. I did speak with Mr. Young about this. I personally don't feel comfortable, obviously, changing the conditions of the board legally. So with that being said, I'm here in front of you today to ask of you what you would like me to do with that. If you feel that there is a need for both projects to have trees and fencing between the two projects. The fencing, I believe, is mandatory. It is for security purposes between the two projects that separate the two projects. But their argument was if we are going to, ask for that land to be returned to agricultural purposes, do both projects have to have a landscape buffer plan, which is trees and shrubbery, separating the two projects? Or can we get by with none? Or can we get by with one?
I would have, I know, I'm going to turn to Mike, our attorney, in a second, but the permits were applied for and granted on their own merit. Am I right?
That is correct.
And the conditions were drawn for each site to have X, Y, and Z done for the permit.
That is correct.
So in my opinion, that's what we have to do. I mean, they weren't worried about too much on prime farmland when they applied for the permit. So I don't have a desire. I have a problem anyhow with the little cells popping up all over to stay under 1 megawatt. And so they applied for them. So I think they can come back. In my opinion, they can come back and ask for us to amend it. But am I on the right track, Mike, or am I way off? Go ahead.
Well, I don't think I've ever told the commissioner that they're way off, but at least not at a public meeting.
But I mean, is the track of? I mean, that's what they applied for, and I feel that we should hold them to what common sense.
Well, government is supposed to make sense, and what the purpose of your screening is so that it's not open to view from area residences, from fields and things like that. Does it make sense to have one solar field screen itself from another solar field? And what my thought was is, number one, you do have the ability to amend your conditions so that they make sense. Number two, you aren't required to. Number three, what if the first one builds and doesn't include the buffer, and then the other one doesn't build? That's where I see the problem being. I don't see any difficulty at all with amending it so that they don't screen from each other.
What's the procedure on amending?
Well, it's up to the board, and you could either do it with a public hearing or without. But you have the right to review a conditional use permit anytime, and we aren't here to make people spend money just to make them spend money. So if you can save them $3,000 or $4,000 or whatever the dollar amounts are, and it doesn't adversely affect any of your constituents, then why wouldn't you do it?
You know, and I actually agree with that, but I'm having a hard time. I mean, obviously, you know that it was a controversial all the way through. We wanted to deny the permit and lost in court.
Yeah, I happen to recall that I was up there.
But now, having said all that, the rules have changed to how the new sites come in. So, I mean, I mean, it sounds like it's a waste, but if that falls, this is my opinion, there's 4 other people sitting here. It's my opinion to hold them to what they applied for. I'm a contract guy anyway, and they would have, obviously, if there wouldn't have been an appeal, and it would have went through, it would have been up, and it would have been a non-factor. It would have been built alongside that buffer strip, you know, and
The appeal should play no role in this whatsoever.
other than timeline.
No, it shouldn't even there. You ought to deal with each matter that comes before you. You shouldn't hold grudges about past matters. If somebody has abused one of our conditions, you can look at that. But there isn't any allegation that these people have cheated or mistreated anything in any way. They use the legal process that is open to them and open to everybody, and they won fair and square, and we ought not hold that against them.
And it's not. I'm not holding against it, but I mean, they should feel fortunate in the permit they got, because they could have to just reapply and come under our new standard.
The Court of Appeals thought differently and said, no, they don't have to reapply, that their application that they had at the time should have been granted. Whether I agree with that or not, it doesn't matter. Whether you agree with that or not, it doesn't matter.
Well, my feeling stays the same. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I mean, it's up to, and it can, as long as it comes back to the board. I guess the question here was whether, I don't feel it's for one person or for Mark to have to make that decision. It has to be a decision of the board. I guess I'm okay with that.
I've told Mark that he cannot make that decision.
Okay, good.
So we would need to have a hearing to change the conditions?
You could. If it's a de minimis deal, then I don't think that you need to. One of the things that you can do is you can think about it, and the commissioner from the district can probably sound out some of his constituents that are nearby. If you want to hold a public hearing, that's an option.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the reason I'm here, it's a non-traditional request. I am doing that in the interest of the applicant to save a little bit of time. If we brought this to workshop, which is where I would ask for this to be brought for a discussion of the board, it just pushes this project back approximately a month for them to submit their submittals. With that being said, and I think what I'm hearing is my action back to the applicant will just, if he's asking for an amendment to the conditions on his request, I'm going to ask for him to apply for that amendment and then bring that in front of the board, unless you wish for that to go back to the Planning Commission for review with the recommendation to you.
I guess my thought, just so I'm clear, that procedure would be fine with me. With our back and forth, I mean, that I shared my feelings, but that would be a way to settle it, in my opinion. Bring it back.
Probably.
Wouldn't it be easier, Mr. Chair, if we just took it back to the planning and zoning?
I don't know where it ultimately is just going to, in fairness, I don't want to delay it, but I just want to make sure that whatever our decision, we come and go. This site will be there for 20-some years. We'll all be gone by that time, so whatever decision is made, I'll live with it, but I think it should be it should be made by the whole board and then put up in contract. I mean, it is what it is, but
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm not trying to just, to the point, I'm not trying to make anybody, I'm not a sore loser. It is what it is, but that was the contract too, so.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I'm in agreement with the comments that we've been heard. We shouldn't put it on Mark. I think the board needs to hear it, and in order to be as timely as possible, maybe it can come before the board, and then we need to carefully look at the language. You know, if it's one builds, one doesn't, we'll have to have some safety built into whatever action we take in a future board meeting.
And the comments made by both Mr. Young and Mark, for it's in your commissioner district. I mean, do some check and bring that back. That'd be helpful to me at least. So, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Public Works, John.
Morning.
Good morning, John.
Item A for you is to consider awarding State Project 43070-017. That's our countywide Highway Safety Improvement Program, or HSIP, 6-inch edgeline striping. We've done a lot of those over the years. Low bid was traffic marking out of Maple Lake with a cost of $49,857.62. And again, this is funded at 90% federal safety funds and then 10% local funds. We did have a second bid from Sir Lancelot for $51,896.93. The low bid was about 7.3% under the engineer's estimate, and this covers approximately 61 miles of edge line this year. We recommend award to the low bid.
I agree with you, John, but I mean, I just have to comment. I almost thought about giving the name of Sir Lancelot was almost. It almost made me want to give it to them just for their thought and their name.
Sure. Yeah, they actually bought out, I think, AAA Striping, who usually is real competitive with traffic marking. So we'll see them a lot more probably.
No, it's a cool name actually. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Question, John. Is it going to be a ground in, or are we just talking about?
This is just regular latex over the top restriping.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of request taking the low bid.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls to approve the low bid. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? One thing, a question I didn't hear, is there a, I don't want to call it a warranty, but is there a standard of good work on lines when they aren't ground in, or how does that actually work?
Yeah, there's some performance measures that meet with the spec as far as coverage and amount of pounds of beads and different things that we watch.
Okay.
Yeah, these are both reputable. Well, they're reputable contractors too.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item B is to consider purchasing a Brush Bandit 200 UC, which is a 12-inch brush chipper. Low quote was Tri-State Bobcat out of Burnsville for $39,147, and a similar model, a Mobark 1215, which was on the state contract, was a little bit more at $40,142. So those the brush chippers over the years, we've rented one off and on, and that works when it's available, and of course it doesn't work when it's not. We've tried to use the city of Hutchins off and on, that's a pretty hot item, so it's few and far between to be able to use it now. And with parks, under our purview too, we're using it a lot more. It'd be handy to have one of our own. So we did put this in the budget this year, if you remember. So that's where our request is
And
for.
it's road right-of-ways as well, not where they're in
Correct.
where they're gross.
Yeah, ditch systems down the road. If there's something we can do with those, yep.
Any other questions for John?
I'll move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright, seconded by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Is any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item C is to consider hiring Braun Intertech out of St. Cloud to perform concrete plant inspections on our rehab project, County Road 1 project, 43-60111 and 43-60112. We'd like to do a cost not to exceed $80,000. And the costs are based on hourly rates and then individual testing rates. The estimated fee on paper for that is $72,263, but again, with production rates and contractor schedule and weather, we'd like to have a not to exceed 80. We did do this last year, as we had some pretty green staff last year. This year, we are still short one engineering technician, so we need to get the plant side of this covered. We had an original request from them for around $100,000, and we whittled that down with some of our summer help can do some of the other testing that is required as far as gradations and aggregate sampling. So we whittled it down about as much as we could, but it is a service that we need to meet the state and federal requirements for our money that's coming in for those.
The only thing I helped with setting up the agenda, so if there's mistakes, it's mostly my fault, but I just want to remind everyone that, if when we come to hiring and when we're looking for, a good staff, I mean, here's 72 grand on one project. I told our administration when we were setting the agenda up, I mean, it's just something to note when we get in conversation of hiring or the qualifications of staff. I just like to remember, I mean, that's over 72,000 on one job, so.
Versus having them for a whole year, probably.
I just wanted to make light of that also to the public. I mean, these are the challenges that we go through, but, Board?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I understand, that maybe we're short-staffed at Highway, but I do want to remind the commissioners, the testing and the service that Braun would be doing is extremely important for the outcome of the job. These are probably individuals who do this every day almost every day throughout the year. I mean, when we move towards putting a county staff person on, we're talking about putting somebody on for just a short time frame. So, I mean, we really do need qualified testing. And another benefit with looking outside for this is we have an independent firm involved in looking at the project. And this is our warranty. This is the only shot we get, so we have to do it right with the testing up front. So with that, I'll move approval of the request.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmalz to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Any more discussion?
When we do this, if we do it in-house, all the liability lays on the county. By going outside, we have some recourse there.
To a certain extent, but I mean, the testing that they're doing is in the concrete plant. I mean, if there's issues that arise down the road with that material, we go back on Braun, things like that. Yeah, there's still, I mean, doesn't mean the county's off the hook for all, our contract was with the contractor. So, I mean, you can't depends on where some fault would lie, should we ever run into some issues that way. It wouldn't all fall on Braun, just the concrete portion, testing portion, like anything in the project.
So if there's something wrong with the product, they go back to those contractors.
If there's something wrong with the product, it would probably be on the contractor. If there's something wrong down the road that Braun didn't catch as they were testing the concrete production, we could probably point back to Braun for that end of it. But
It's almost,
I mean, you're going to typically catch any issues right away with the portion Braun's doing with the concrete production. So they're testing the actual production at the ready mix or at the batch plant when they're making the concrete. That's their end of it. Monitoring that whole production of making the right recipe of the concrete.
I've had some experience with the commissioner, and it's almost interesting to watch people test, no matter who's doing the testing of what's done. It's basically accurate documentation of how the stuff's going along. So it's interesting, because if there would be a bad batch, they know right where it went, and if it is, so it's interesting to see.
Yeah. So our staff is doing the road portion of the inspection. The two technicians we have, and some are helping, and then Braun primarily is doing the plant production side.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Last item for you quick here is an update on my summary of out-of-state travel to Buffalo, New York. That was for our National Association of County Engineers Conference. That was back in April 24th through 27, and not so sunny Buffalo, New York. So NACE, National Association of County Engineers, nationwide, counties only maintain about 46% of the nation's roads and 40% of the nation's bridges. NACE is a big advocate for that federally, through funding and helping being the voice federally for local county engineers. There's 31 states affiliated with NACE nationwide. There's a few 100% states. Minnesota is one of them. We have a very active chapter in NACE. All of our county engineers, all 87 are members of NACE through our Minnesota Association of County Engineers. And nationwide, there's 3,000 county engineers, road managers, and related professionals in the U.S. and a little bit of Canada that are members of NACE. So this conference, like a lot of the others, it was the first one back in person for the last couple of years. Probably 300 attendees, so it was a hair lighter than a typical one of maybe 400 or 500, but nevertheless, people got back together. It was a combination of county engineers, assistants, road managers, highway superintendents, and a lot of vendors there as well. Couple components to the conference. Of course, there's a conference with technical sessions, and then there's a trade show as well. Trade show probably had 60 vendors of different equipment, product, software. Like you can imagine, if you walk through the EMC conference, you see different vendors with different products and so forth. The conference is broken down into different technical tracks. There's a safety track sessions, structure sessions, pavement preservation, unpaved roads, emergency response. Probably 30 sessions altogether with the different ones that way. The highlight for me was I did actually present on pavement preservation. I co-presented with a research engineer from Iowa State, the Concrete Pavement Technology Center. I presented on concrete overlays. So Dan, the research engineer, gave an overview on kind of the math side and the book side behind the concrete overlays and why they're good and everything. And I gave my McLeod County lessons learned kind of over the years of what we've been doing and tips and tricks what we do to that would work for us for our project. So it was a packed session, maybe because it was one of the first ones, but the room was full, so it was pretty cool. But that went good. Other sessions I attended that were okay were a couple of sessions on unpaved roads, and there was a vendor from Ohio, Midwest they were called, and they had another secret snake oil, right, that would maybe work for dust control and everything. And at the end of they never got to the cost or anything. So at the end of it, I hit him up. I said, well, what's the cost? And then he kind of fumbled around. He said, well, 75 to 100. I'm like, okay, dollars a square foot? No, 100,000 a mile. We said, all right. Well, a lot of people pretty much left then. But otherwise, another real good presentation was the Cass County engineer out of Fargo, the Fargo-Moorhead diversion for the Red River. fmdiversion.gov if you're really bored and interested in this. So that's a $3 billion project when you look at the whole thing, the whole Red River diversion they're looking at around Fargo. It's a public-private partnership with all the residents, some big contractors from, I think the prime contractors are from Israel and Spain, real huge contractors. But their marketing, if you look at that fmdiversion.gov, there's a lot of nice marketing on there. It's easy to read, easy to follow. It tells about how they're saving people flood insurance money and all that whole thing. So that was really interesting. Of course, other highlights, the big one is the networking opportunities. We got a lot of friends over the years in different counties, different states. So you catch up. A lot of the Iowa guys are good friends of myself and others in Minnesota, so that's good. But all in all, it was all right. There was one technical tour out to Niagara Falls. I did not go on. It was 38 and raining the day of that tour, so we stayed back from that one. But overall, it was a good conference, and I appreciate allowing me to attend it.
Any questions for John?
Thanks for the update.
All right.
Good job, John. Thank you.
Yep.
Review of commissioner calendars. Anything before we go into that, Sheila? Go ahead, Darrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tuesday, May 3rd, we had a workshop after the main meeting. And then I go on to Monday, the 9th, MRC meeting, Zoom. And then we had another meeting in the afternoon at the fairgrounds for the Green Road. Wednesday, Pack for Families. That was a Zoom meeting also. And at the Glencoe City Center, so we could do it either way. And then on Friday, SM, AM, HC, another Zoom meeting. Brings me up to today. Thank you.
Thank you, go ahead.
Yeah. Over the past couple of weeks, did have a MRF meeting vetting the contracts that were approved today. Attended recorder interviews, our joint meeting with the City of Hutchinson. Last week, Environmental Services Director Mark Teleski and I attended a Lynn Township Board as they had concerns with the recycling dumpsters that we have there, so we discussed some options and opportunities to look at. And yesterday, meeting on ditch 63 with our staff and engineers. That'll be a workshop item for today, and that's about it.
For myself, I also, on the 9th, I had Minnesota Rural Counties, legislatures coming to the end. We had some priorities that we emphasized, and had our lobbyists go to the legislators to voice our concerns and urgency of a couple of these items. Also had the joint workshop with the City of Hutchinson on the Ring Road and a few other things in Hutch that was a beneficial meeting to understand where everybody's at. On the 10th, I had a joint ditch meeting with Carver County on some ditch work. A bit of a lengthy meeting because of two presentations of people that do redetermination of benefits before we awarded the bid to H2 overviewers. I also caught the tail end of our department head meeting, which I apologize again for being late for, but you can't be in two places at one time. So on the 11th, I was out on some ditch issues. I had a number of ditch issues in the last week or so. So that was part of it. I had agenda review, economic development yesterday. Good meeting. We are, for myself, we're breaking some new ground, so I think we're finding some compromises to be a beneficial organization. I also met on ditch 63 yesterday afternoon, along with running out to JD8 with some issues on a new crossing on County Road 1. Brings us up to today. Go ahead, Joe.
Board meeting and workshop a couple weeks ago. Got the privilege to participate in the county recorder interviews. Some very, very good candidates, and something we'll address here in a little bit. The joint meeting with the City of Hutchinson was addressed, and yes, the Ring Road was part of that. Also some efforts that the city is participating in regarding water in their area, and how that correlated with the county's efforts was very intriguing and interesting, that we were able to work together on some of that. I filled in yesterday at the Economic Development Committee, and again, I regret that Glencoe went the way it did today regarding the hotel, because I think someday, somehow, that'll be something that we'll be able to address, and or at least have more information and be better educated as those items come forward. But it just wasn't a fit for today. And then last night, I attended the McLeod County Fair Board meeting, and I think I'll just save that and speak on that on a future agenda item here in just a bit. So that's it.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Commissioner Nagel. Since our last board meeting, Tuesday, May 3rd, we did workshop, and then the following week, Monday the 9th, participated in with the workshop that was held jointly by McLeod County and the City of Hutchinson. The other commissioners have covered the topics that we discussed. And then, as Commissioner Kruger stated, on the 10th, I was part of the joint ditch meetings that we held with Carver County on joint ditches 1, 4, and 5. Like Commissioner Kruger said, it was a rather lengthy meeting, but informative as well. And then Thursday, I had a Wellbeing Committee meeting in the afternoon. I did that by Zoom, and that brings us to today, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner Dewar. Mike, do you have anything for us? No. Thank you.
I have nothing to add.
All right, do you want to proceed into the items for administration?
Yes, please. Here's the detail for item A that I'll be asking the board for, if you want to pass that down. Item A, consider a recommendation from the Personnel Committee to appoint the county recorder. Requesting appointment of Deborah Jensen, current McLeod County Chief Deputy Recorder, to the appointed role of McLeod County Recorder, effective June 6, 2022, upon the retirement of current elected County Recorder Lynette Schrupp, to complete the current term through December 31, 2022, upon which time a board appointment would again be necessary for this appointed role. Lynette's last day as our elected official will be on June 4th, 2022. June 3rd, but you'll still be the elected official on June 4th. Her last date of being in the office will be on the 3rd.
Mike, walk us through this.
Well, is this just, that's what I was just.
Is it
gonna
just
ask.
information, or-
Is this information, or do we have?
No.
Take some
I would
action.
assume.
This is an action item, asking for appointment of the county recorder.
And then you're saying,
Through.
I guess what's confusing me, Sheila, forgive me, and I'll make the motion. Don't get nervous. But it says upon which time board appointment would be necessary again.
That would be at the end of the current term, so this is asking for you to appoint
for this
from
year.
June 6th through December 31st, 2022.
Got it.
If you would, go ahead.
And if Lynette is going to retire on the 3rd, then the appointment ought to be effective the following day. Because an elected or an official continues to serve and get paid until their successor is qualified.
She is done as of after the 4th. That's a Friday, and then Monday, her and I just spoke about it. It's just that her last day physically here will be on June 3rd.
Well,
Okay, so I'll just ask for an amendment to change it to effective June 4,
Yes.
2022 through December 31st, 2022. And that just means that after December 31st, you would start your reappointment. You have an appointment calendar for all of your appointed officials. This is the timeline that
Yeah.
I'm asking for.
And I get that part, and I'm sorry that we're completing this term and then starting
Correct.
the next. Yeah. I'm happy to move to approve this request.
And I'm happy to second it. Is there any discussion? I mean, it was a thorough process. We went through it hard. I mean, it being our first appointment for a recorder, we tried not to make any mistakes, and I feel confident in this appointment. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the appointment of Deborah Jensen from June 4th through December 31st, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Do you want to come up and introduce yourself? You may as well get it done with. You're already in here. And she does go by Deb, but her legal name's Deborah, so that's why I have it listed that way.
Yes, I've always been deputized as Deborah, but I do go by Deb. Jensen is my last name. I am honored and thankful for this move and promotion, and I look forward to learning lots more. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
so I first got to know her family when we were doing a condemnation for the Airport Road Bridge over the Crow River. And Wayne was your father, and I ended up at their dining room table having him sign the easement so that we could put that road across there. That's got to be back in the early 90s, I think. I don't know if you were there or not. I think you were.
I was probably there.
Yeah.
They're in college, but yeah.
Is that the bridge that the old fairgrounds barn went across? Before the bridge was in?
Oh, I don't know.
I think that's the story. So,
Well, there wasn't any bridge there at all.
yeah, and they made sure they moved the building before the bridge was in so they could get it across the road.
Yep.
So,
That's the one.
that's good.
Item B, consider approving Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee and Budget Committee recommendations to allocate $100,000 to the McLeod County Agricultural Association to be used for admission revenue for the 2022 McLeod County Fair, allowing the Fair Board to waive admission fees for the 150th anniversary of the McLeod County Fair, using funds from the Coronavirus County Relief Fund of the American Rescue Plan Act dollars. And I will let Commissioners Nagel and Wright comment on this because they've been involved.
Mr. Chair. So I met with the, as I mentioned earlier, I met with the fair board last night, and they passed a motion supporting this donation. I know that's a little out of line, or not out of order, I guess maybe, but it was important for me to get their feedback. They're excited to have this opportunity for their 150th fair. And it's exciting for us to be able to do that. This is not, again, it's a one-time deal. At least that's how I feel about it. Things can change, but that's how the fair board and the committees are planning for it moving forward. And it hopefully will allow residents within the county and outside the county to attend our fair and keep the cost down just a little bit and go from there. This dollar amount was we came up with this dollar amount based on the average gate over the last few years, and this is what the gate brings into the fair. So that's where the dollar amount comes in. So I'll let Paul comment more if he wants to. Otherwise, I think it's something that we should move forward with.
I think you covered all the mechanics very well. It winds up being an opportunity where schedules align with the county fair celebrating their 150th, and an opportunity for funding here that we are able to, because of it is a recreational opportunity with the ARPA funds, so it's a perfect fit. But as Commissioner Nagel mentioned, this is a one-time deal. Of course, boards and committees can revisit things however they want to in the future, but we're seeing this as a one-time commitment to get our county residents out to visit an extremely impressive county fairgrounds and Ag Association group that puts on our county fair.
And I would agree with both Commissioner Wright and Commissioner Nagel. It's I think it's money well spent. It would come after 2 years of COVID. I think it's going to be well used, and I'm praying now for no rains and good weather so people can get out and have a fun at probably one of the best county fairgrounds in Minnesota. So with that, I'd make the motion to give the $100,000 or allocated to the McLeod County Agricultural Association.
Second. Did you make a motion?
I did, yes.
Yep, then I'll second it.
Motion made by Commissioner Kruger, second by Commissioner Nagel. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. C.
Thank you. I just want to note with the ARPA dollars that we have tried to do or tried to provide items to the county board that will have a benefit as far as possible in the communities in our county, and that this does fit that test, and that the committee did support it. So thank you. Item C, consider approving Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee and Budget Committee recommendations to allocate up to $50,000 to Adult Training and Rehabilitation Center, also known as ATHC, in Hutchinson and Winstead, split as close to evenly between the two facilities as is feasible, for eligible repair and replacement projects within the facilities using funds from the Coronavirus County Relief Fund from the American Rescue Plan Act dollars. For those of you who don't know, ATHC serves communities all throughout McLeod County. It provides people with physical and intellectual disabilities the opportunity to learn job skills and social skills and apply those skills on a daily basis while earning a wage based on the work they complete. Every year, ATHC sends the county a list of facility projects for which it is raising funds. I can elaborate if you would like, but maybe, Paul, if you just want to know anything with the work that they've done with the county. However, I don't know that history because I wasn't here.
Sure. I think,
Thank you.
In the past, we were able to work a lot with our recycling program with this group, but as was mentioned, it is countywide. They bring in clients from across the county to help where they can and create some opportunities, job opportunities, and social opportunities to their clients and individuals that utilize their facilities. So I think this is a good investment to help keep their facilities functional.
I would echo that as well. We've used ATHC and I've worked with them before too, and they've had their challenges for the last couple of years, so it's a fit, hoping that the economy and workplace or jobs open up more so they can be utilized, so.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
The facilities, is it the home that we're talking about, or where they go to work?
They go to work at facilities in Hutchinson and Winstead. Some of the individuals who work in the facility live in group homes for developmentally disabled or people who need extra care throughout the county. And those homes are served through businesses like Avron, and they're located all throughout the county.
And with that,
There are many of those businesses. It is not just Avron, but they are located throughout the entire county. Mike, did you have something to add? No? Okay.
And that's, we have the contracts with our Trailblazer as well to move these people. And there's a lot of logistics to what they do. And I hope they succeed.
So what's their main source of revenue?
It is through
Through the
state funding for the revenue for the programming, the facility. They have a list of items that they keep running, and then they send out to all of their community supporters or people that they've worked with before. That entails, like, if they need a new roof. I know they recently replaced their furnace in one of the locations, I believe Winstead, and it was $10,000. They did previously receive annual support from the county board, which I believe we were under the impression that they stopped asking for. They have had director and staffing changes, and they may ask for that again in the future, but their main support is, I believe, through the state of DHS.
So do they have a committee with chair and who oversees
Their
it?
director is the person who we were working with.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, do you have a motion?
I do not.
I will make it to approve item C.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve up to $50,000 to ATHC. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Smalls. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. D.
Thank you. I just want to note real quickly with the ARPA dollars, you know that there are strict timelines, and not just timelines for spending, but also for determining how the funds are used. And in between those 2 years, currently, the U.S. Department of Treasury final ruling says that you cannot change your mind between the end of 24 and the end of 26 when everything has to be paid. So the reason you see up to is because we will have to work with those facilities to make sure that they can use the dollars in between those timelines, and also that they can get the materials that they're trying to with the supply chain issues we're experiencing. Item D, consider approving Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee and Budget Committee recommendations to allocate up to $500,000 to the McLeod County Housing and Redevelopment Authority for eligible repair and replacement projects of existing housing located in McLeod County cities, using funds from the Coronavirus County Relief Fund from the ARPA dollars. All project plans must be completed with final payment amounts by December 1, 2024, and all projects must be finished and final payments processed by December 1, 2026. Their director is here today if you do have any questions, and they expect in the next few years to have approximately $1.5 million of repair and renovation costs to existing properties in McLeod County cities. Providing County American Rescue Plan Act funds will help the HRA cover project costs.
I serve on HRA, and I did invite Jill Bankston, our director, here today. So, Jill, if you want to just step up for a couple of minutes and see if there's any questions for you. I've went through this, but and I'm glad to have recommended it at least to this point. So
Many of these units were built in the mid to late 90s, and so it's time.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
you have to tip the mic towards you, Jill. Thank you.
Apologies. I just wanted to say thank you for giving this some consideration this morning. I know there are many entities that these funds could go to. Very honored that you would even consider it this morning. I was with this project way back in the 90s when this was built. I remember coming to many board meetings discussing how this project would be funded, how the HRA would be issuing bonds. I remember many spirited conversations between HRA commissioners and county commissioners about whether the county should actually make this step and back up bonds that the HRA would be building. I think this has been a very successful project over the years, and that has never come to light to me greater than in this last year, in which we have tried to replicate townhomes like this in another county in very small communities, because developers nowadays have great difficulty going into communities of 500 people or 700 people or 1,200 people and putting a fourplex in there. It's just not cost effective. We were also not able to do it, and that was also looking at bringing in a subsidy, state subsidy. Even with that subsidy, these units would have to rent out at $1,500 a month. Obviously, we are nowhere near that here in McLeod County. So that just tells me that this is very affordable housing for the people that have grown up in these small communities, want to stay in their communities. They've lived there for decades. Their families are there. Their church is there. And I just thank you for giving this consideration this morning. Happy to answer any questions.
The only thing I'd like to add is, I mean, we're in communities of, help me here, Stuart Brownton, Glencoe, Wester Prairie, and Silver Lake, and I know there's some in Hutch as well, but they have their own HRA, but we reach out in that area, so.
Yes.
The original intent here was to provide housing for seniors so that they could vacate their larger family homes, so that younger people with families could move into them, and yet those of us that have gotten more elderly, and you and I included, Ms. Jill, will have a place to be able to stay in our own residences or in our own towns. I would note that in the early days, it was a struggle, but they have had a dramatic financial turnaround. If you look at our audit, it shows that they have a significant fund balance now. These are no longer at-risk properties in any stretch of the imagination. There are other counties to the south of us that dealt with Amberfield, if you'll recall that, where the counties ventured on a public housing and it cost them $7 to $10 million, something like that. It was in the millions. But this is one that was very successful. We are fortunate. Jill has done a wonderful job. We weren't always blessed with such good administration, and we had to help them on a couple of occasions with that. But Jill has done wonderful.
Thanks for the good work. I serve on it as well, but I just helped. Her and the rest of our board have done an excellent job. I'm not ready to go to town yet. I still like my country, but I wouldn't be a problem for me to live in any of those homes. They're good. So thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jill?
Mr. Chair, move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve.
Second.
Up to $500,000 for the HRA, seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just will note that we'll work on how those funds are distributed. It will be different depending on the project. For the fairgrounds, that one will be distributed with the next payments. It will be different when it's project-based, like the HRA homes and HEHC. So I can provide an update to the committee, and if you need detail, let us know. Item E, notification of board workshop following the board meeting on Tuesday, June 7, 2022 at the McLeod County Government Center here at 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. And we have our added item F, Resolution 22-CB-26, McLeod County Emergency Management Declaration. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong title here. Give me a moment. McLeod County Emergency Management Disaster Declaration. Whereas the heavy rains and severe weather of May 11 through 12, 2022 impacted the population of McLeod County and its townships and cities, and whereas the heavy rains and severe weather event caused a significant amount of public property damage to township roads and culverts, trees, and other public infrastructure, and whereas the McLeod County Office of Emergency Management requests the McLeod County Board of Commissioners to declare McLeod County in a state of emergency for the heavy rains and severe weather event of 2022, now therefore be it resolved I'm sorry, I won't read that part unless you do vote it to be adopted. But I do want to note that Kevin Matthews submitted information stating that McLeod County Emergency Management has discovered damages across the county that could make McLeod County eligible for a state disaster declaration. In order to be eligible for this disaster declaration, we have to have $75,380.55 in public infrastructure damages. So far, Kevin has heard from Bergen Township, Winstead Township, and Hassan Valley Township. Those estimated damages around $90,000, and they are still waiting to hear back from several other jurisdictions to hear about damages. So asking you to approve that resolution.
It speaks for itself, Board. I don't have anything to add. I read through or communicated with Kevin, and it's one of our tools in the toolbox, so
Mr. Chair, I approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Luthens to sign and approve the resolution.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schmalz. Any more discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
In my district, we were hit pretty heavily with the rain amounts last week. I think my rain gauge caught 3.5 inches, and then we added another 1/2 inch to it the following day. But there are reports within 2 miles of me, maybe even less than 2 miles of me, where rain gauges collected 5.5 inches of rain. There is damage out there. There was a culvert that washed out just to the north of me, crossing Cable Avenue. That road remains closed at this point in time. I believe that the township was in the process of assessing the other roadways within their township in Winstead. I know Bergen suffered damage as well. So I just wanted to let the public know and the commissioners know that, maybe if you didn't get that heavy rain, we certainly did get it in my neighborhood. So just wanted to make you aware.
Any more questions or comments?
Is the drought over?
Are you planting corn today?
I hope so.
Not if we don't get out of here.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Open forum. Anybody here wish to address the board? Go ahead. This is not the workshop, so just to be clear, you're welcome to address it, but this is. Anyone else that wishes to address the board in the open forum? Seeing none. Press relations. See any press? So our next board meeting would be at 9 a.m. Tuesday, June 7th, 2022, here at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North in Glencoe.
Move recess as stated, Mr. Chair.
Motion made to recess. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? We're recessed.